Wel, croeso I chi.
Welcome to this meeting, or the first one since a long time, so I'm happy to see you today. Even we have had a lot of Zoom meetings over this period. This is a public meeting. The first part is public, so we're live streaming, but the second part will be exempt. So we will be stopping the recording and rejoining another meeting. Every microphone will be muted, so you need to unmute yourself before speaking. And I must remind you to use the raise hand function on Zoom, because I can't see you on my screen, all of you anyway, so I need to see that raise hand function to see if you want to speak. And you're welcome to use the chat system if you want to give a message out to everyone or individually. Be careful when you're using this, please, if you're using it for a private conversation. That's all I wanted to say before starting. So if we go to the first item, which is apologies.
Sorry, we've had apologies from Councillor Ronnie Hughes, Councillor Pauline Heat-Williams and Councillor Peter Lewis.
Councillor Andrew Hinchcliffe, let's come in. No, Andrew, your hand's up, that's why I asked.
I'm sorry, I seem to have miscopied the Zoom code for the second part of the meeting if it requires a different Zoom code.
I'll send you an email, Andrew, during the course of this meeting.
Oh, it's on my council one. I'm using my PC. Can you send it to my private?
I'll do it. Yeah, we'll
number?
sort it for you.
Yeah, it might be useful to send.
Sorry about that.
Okay, thanks, Andrew. Is it possible to send that to all members? Dawn, would that be useful, do you think?
Yeah, okay, that's fine. I can do that.
Yeah. And I've got to also apologise. I've got a funeral at midday, so I'll be leaving at about 11:30 if we haven't finished by then. And Councillor Dave, as Vice Chair, will be taking over the chair of the meeting.
Thank you. So if we go to item 2, which is declarations of interest.
Chair, can I declare a personal interest in agenda item 7? I know someone on a personal level who's associated with one of the bids, so I'll intend leaving the meeting for that item.
Thanks, Dawn. I don't have any other. So item 3, urgent matters. I don't think I have anything here.
No, I'm not aware of any, Chair.
There are no questions to Cabinet members either. So if we go into the first item here on today, the reports, which is item 5. This is the Corporate Health and Safety Programme, and I'll pass it on to who is first, Gareth or Phil?
It's me first. I trust Gareth is with us. I haven't seen him appear as of yet.
Thank you, Phil.
I am here.
Right, okay. Thank you, Councillor Wynne. Good morning, Borodar, everyone. I'd like to go slightly off script to start with, please. So I think it's a really appropriate time to pay tribute to our corporate health and safety team for all the work they've done throughout the COVID-19 pandemic. The work done by all of Richard's team, Estelle, Delith, Christian, Bledin and Richard, has been truly exceptional during the pandemic. I think the Council is truly fortunate to have such a professional and dedicated team of officers. Their individual and collective contribution has been totally outstanding within this particular last 3.5 months we have. So I'd like to place my personal thanks on record, and I would hope the committee would join me in doing the same, please.
Okay.
I'm sure we do agree with all of that. Thank you, Phil.
Okay, returning to the report itself, I'll provide a brief overview before handing on to Gareth Roach, the Programme Manager, to take you through some of the key details. So in terms of the why, the Conway Opportunities Board requested the establishment of the Corporate Health and Safety Programme. and we were originally scheduled to present a report to you in April of this year, but clearly other events got in the way. This programme follows on from the 2011-13 project, which saw the development and implementation of the corporate health and safety management system. And since then, a number of follow-on projects and initiatives have developed, and it makes real sense to gather these all together under one umbrella programme. The programme also includes projects and initiatives led by corporate HR and the Estates and Asset Management Service. The programme has a particular focus on the risk profile of our organisation, its competence and the contractors associated with the delivery of services, and that follows on from the 2015 Management of Contractors Policy 2015. So as you can see, a substantial amount of work already taken place, and this is the next phase. There are two recommendations set out in the report, and that is the establishment of the programme be approved, and that a member of your committee is nominated to join the board. But at this point, I'd like to pass over to Gareth so we can talk about the anticipated programme benefits, a little about the project, and then obviously if you have any questions, both Gareth and Richard are available for you.
Thanks, Phil.
Okay, thank you, Phil. Can you hear me?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, great, wonderful. Okay, thanks for the introduction, Phil. And I want really to introduce you to what the programme is going to be. So as Phil said, it came about due to a request from the Conway Opportunities Board, and really it's to bring together a number of existing and new health and safety and HR related projects and initiatives. And as you know, we manage programs in Conway. We've been doing this for about a decade, so it makes good sense to bring linked projects together. And from our experience of managing programs, that's a way to do it. So in this case, really, we wanted to follow on the previous project, as Phil said, and really that was about embedding the corporate health and safety management system. But things develop, things change, and obviously since then, more has arisen to do. So we've got a set of projects in place for the proposed programme, and it will bring about really a lot of positives, we would say. For example, if you look at section 3.4 of your report, you'll see some of what the programme will make happen, basically. You'll see, for example, we'll make sure that citizens are provided with really high quality services. We'll be thinking about sort of prevention and certainly reducing the risk of things like litigation, enforcement action, reputational damage. And in a way, it's also about raising the profile of health and safety across the organisation and with partners. And a big part of it too is about the contract. They will be part of this as well, to make sure that we're using the best contractors, procuring properly, and we're delivering safely. In terms of the actual benefits, one of the really good things that we'll be doing is, because of the programme being in place, is to have a consistency. Everything will be under the one umbrella of this programme. And in a way that helps really in the communication and interaction between the project and pieces of work that are in place. So the benefits really, which we anticipate to come about, as I've said, a raised profile of health and safety. We certainly see that it will help to provide an excellent environment in which to work, a safe, happy, healthy workforce. And I think obviously lots has changed in the last few months. And as Phil said, health and safety has been a very prominent part of our recent efforts in our response to COVID-19. Going forward, the programme is going to be, we anticipate, a 5-year programme. And at the moment, we're bringing in a set of projects, some of which existed already, some of which we knew. And this initial list of anticipated benefits, each of those projects will help us to realise those across the programme. Okay, 3.6, membership. And those names are in place partly because of Councillor Emma Leighton-Jones as our portfolio holder and our lead member for this programme, and Councillors Chris and Garonway are portfolio holders linked to some of the projects in the programme. So it makes great sense to have them on board. We've got Phil, obviously, as the programme sponsor, head of corporate HR, and Richard representing corporate health and safety, obviously. And obviously one of our recommendations today is that we have a nomination for a representative from the committee to join. Right, so as you'll see in 3.7, as I've said, it's a 5-year programme initially, and obviously throughout the lifetime of a programme, the makeup of what's within it will change, and the project will begin and end, and new projects will come along. So it's great to have that structure in place. With any programme, things will change, but to have that structure in place, that focus and consistency go forward. Okay, so what I wanted to do was really briefly talk about what the projects are. Okay, so you'll see in section 3.7 we have a list of the projects, who's responsible for each, and so on. So first off, we have positions competencies. Now that's looking at we have competencies that are required for us to do that job safely and efficiently. So this project, managed by Delith Owen Davies from the Health and Safety team, is to look at establishing a competency management system and implementing that, allowing us all to maintain and develop the competencies we need to have in place to do our jobs properly. And we'll also, as we go forward, look at what we've put in place, audit it, and review the system that's been put in place. Just a quick definition, a competence means the ability to undertake responsibilities and to perform activities to a recognised standard on a regular and ongoing basis, basically. So that project existed before this programme, so it was already in place, and we've brought that in to this programme. So it's underway really, and piloting what it's doing with the youth service. And that's been going well, and Delith has been working on this for a good at least 6 months now. So they are in the delivery stage of the project, as you see in your report. So an example benefit from that project would be basically the increased competency of staff as we go forward. One part of what it's doing is gathering together risk assessments, and they show the hazards that we do and the measures we put in place to control those hazards. And that's really important as well for the second project, which is the implementation of Hazard Manager. Now, basically, Hazard Manager is a risk assessment database, and it's part of the overall CAMS system that we have in place. And the risk assessment database forms a key part of the existing corporate health and safety management system. So the aim of that project is to record all the risk assessments that we have and enable us to have safe working procedures to be developed and implemented. So for example, if I was using a strimmer, we would have a risk assessment in place, and we would look at the measures to make sure that I use that strimmer safely, as an example. So that project is a little bit earlier on in its lifespan. That's in the initiation timeframe at the moment, and that's managed by Blethen Jackson from Corporate Health and Safety. But as you'll see already, there's a strong linkage between those first projects that I've mentioned, and that's another good reason that we have programs in place that allows us to have that close linkage. One thing we'll be doing as part of this program, all the project leads that are in place will be meeting on a frequent basis as a program officer group. So those linked into dependencies will be closely managed and monitored, and so on. Is job description centralization. Now, obviously, everybody has a job description, person specification, and this project aims to bring those together, basically. to hold them within a system called EDM, which is Electronic Document Management. Now that means basically that if we, for example, need to do something like recruit a post or look at redeployment, it allows us to easily access the up-to-date job description straight away. It reduces the time involved in doing certain things like job evaluation, PDRs. It has great benefits to many elements of what we do in terms of HR. So this project's led by Adam Walsh, who is within corporate HR. So this is one of the examples of the fact that there are HR-related projects and pieces of work within the programme. So we see great benefits in terms of this project. Adam's piloting it with staff from Venue, and benefits include the fact that everybody will be very clear on the processes and records in place. It will reduce the potential for equal pay claims because the information for everybody doing a particular role will be up to date. So it links closely to the Competencies project as well, because obviously our person specifications for our roles detail the competencies we need to have in place to do our jobs. So close linkages again. And that project did exist before this program was proposed, so that's now in the delivery stage as well. Okay, number 4 is the implementation of our asset management software strategy. Now this goes back to around a decade ago. We put in place our asset management plan, which lasts until 2022. And part of this is the system that we use, which is called TechForge. Now that has all the details of all our properties and buildings and land and plant and so on. And this project simply is upgrading that system to move it from the existing sort of desk-based system to a cloud-based system. And that will allow us basically to use the system as an app on our phones, and will bring such benefits as really quickly being able to fault and report that, get it into the system. I've seen it demonstrated, and it really is a much better way forward in terms of using this system. And as part of this program, obviously, because as part of the corporate health and safety management system, all our buildings are within that software, and we record issues, anything that needs to be done. All the statutory checks that we have to do are recorded within that as part of the health and safety management system. So it's really important that this is linked into this program. Program was proposed, and we can see already that there's really positive uptake in this change, and people can see the benefits of this rollout, which will include full training, obviously, for offices, and offices across the authority use TechForge on a daily basis, and they will all receive training later this year in using the new upgraded system. So that one's managed by Steve Lee. He's a principal asset manager working for estates and asset management. So another really positive project, we think. Okay, number 5 is a project that's kind of on hold at the moment. It's about health and safety in care homes. Now, this was underway, but obviously we don't know the impact of the recent months on our care sector. So for this point in time, while we look at the impacts of COVID-19, and also the fact that we haven't got an actual project manager for this one at the moment, this is kind of on pause at the moment. But to put it simply, the aim of the project is to look at, in terms of the care home sector, their contractors, the sort of selection, the planning of jobs, supervision and monitoring of contractors. This stems from the management of contractors policy from 2015, kind of a follow-on from that, really. The idea is that all those that sector, sort of nursing, residential, domiciliary provision, sign up to something called the Safety Schemes in Procurement, or SSIP. It's an assessment scheme for contractors. So that's a really positive thing to do and a really good thing to do. But at this point in time, I don't think it's going to be one of the ones we're pushing very strongly, because we need to let the care sector regroup essentially after this pandemic, basically. So the project manager would be from social care, but at the moment we don't have that role filled. But there's been strong support for this project from Christian within the health and safety team. Okay, and finally, it's actually a project, but it's really good to have within this program. Cheryl Roberts from Corporate HR, just before this pandemic began, was leading a piece of work about reviewing our PDR process, and that's performance development and review process, to look at how that could change. And obviously a big part of that links to job descriptions, competencies. So you see it's a really good link to have within this program. So what I will do obviously is regroup with Cheryl and see where that's at now, basically, in terms of moving forward. So 6 projects or pieces of work initially in place. They are moving forward, making good progress, but the positive about this umbrella program is that we'll have a greater ability to work with all of those project leads together, look at the links, the interdependencies, how they affect each other, and even think about how we communicate as a whole on all those initiatives, because they are so closely linked together. Okay, so the options, well, basically it is, the preferred option is to proceed with a program. And one of the 2 recommendations we're seeking approval of today is to have them approved. So I've done lots of preliminary work working with those project leads, but with the formal approval to proceed, I can do a lot more in terms of the next steps, basically. As Section 4 says, there are no actual monetary costs associated with establishing the programme, simply the officer time. And one of my roles is to manage programmes, so essentially this will be the main programme I'll be managing going forward. And any funding for the programme is from existing budgets. And obviously constituent projects may draw down funding from other sources, other streams. Okay, and one thing I would say, we've been keeping a close eye on things as a result of COVID-19 and the resource involved, because obviously lots of people have been pulled in many different directions in order to deal with our response to the pandemic. Okay, Section 5 is about engagement and consultation, and we've obviously had lots of consultation with Phil from Corporate HR, the health and safety team. In Section 5.4, Councillor Emma Leighton-Jones, our portfolio holder, has given some strong endorsement in terms of how important this programme is to the authority. Okay. As I said, there are resource implications in terms of those officers involved, but as part of the programme manager, I'll keep an eye on that and make sure that everybody is able to deliver based on everything else they've got to do as well. Okay, you'll see in Section 7 that we support some of the key corporate plan outcomes, as does any programme within the organisation. And we will make sure that as the corporate plan develops and is renewed, that we maintain a strong linkage with that. I won't read those out in detail, but one of the key ones is the first one, that will continue to support and develop our staff, which is linked to the Competencies project. And the second one about training, also linked to Competencies. And the third one about working with partners, that links to the Health and Safety in Care Homes project. Okay, very briefly, any programme that we have in place links to the Wellbeing of Future Generations Act, and we link to the wellbeing goals that are part of that, plus the different ways of working, which are detailed in the subsections. But I think we very strongly link to the Wellbeing Act because of the long-term element that this programme has, the measures we're putting in place in terms of reducing the likelihood of litigation or enforcement action, the integration with the fact that this is a programme across the entire authority, and we will be working with partners as well. So very closely linked to the gap. And collaboration, yes, very much underway. Certainly in some of the projects, such as the Competencies project, already all services are involved and being informed about that. Okay, moving on to equality. We've undertaken an equality impact screening assessment, and that's part of the pack today. And following discussion with our equalities lead from HR, most of the projects we anticipate will be doing full equality impact assessments going forward, or have done already. And section 10, we link into a number of policies and procedures in terms of what the programme is doing, which are detailed in 10.1. And finally, section 11, we have started to identify some risks, and they will be part of our programme risk log, which I'll be maintaining and updating as we go forward. Okay, so your appendices are, and that is more detail about the programme and what it includes. A structure showing how we link in with other initiatives such as the new renewal programme within Conway, and also details who's involved. Finally, Appendix C is the Equality Impact Assessment Screening Form. Okay, so that's a run through of the report, but obviously happy to take questions.
Thank you, Gareth. Any questions from the members? Goronwy.
Mute, Gronwy.
Have I managed? Can you hear me now? Yeah. I'd like to thank Gareth for the report. There's been a lot of work that's gone into this. Obviously, health and safety is one of our prime objectives. We've got a very large workforce, and it also affects the public that we serve, of course. I think one new element is the effect of COVID, because many of our staff now are working from home, and we need to ensure that they are also being protected whilst they work from home, because it's not just both the mental issues of working from home, the stresses and strains. So it is important. It's good housekeeping as far as I'm concerned, and I'd like to thank Gareth and all the people that have been working on this. And I hope it'll be adopted today. I'm sure it will. It's an excellent document, and it's the basics of good housekeeping, as I say.
Diolch Gronwy.
If no one else wants to ask questions, you can see the recommendations on page 4. That we approve the programme, the Corporate Health and Safety Programme. And are we going to propose? Councillor Chris?
Sorry, Councillor Chris Hughes. You're on mute, Chris. Yeah.
Thank you, Wyn. I'd just like to thank the officers for the report. I spent several years in a previous employment working in a health and safety role and chairing a health and safety committee, and I think this is one of the most comprehensive reports of its nature that I've ever seen. I'd just like to congratulate the whole team for the excellent work that they've put in.
Thank you, Chris.
Thanks, Chris. Thank you.
Councillor Bryan, I can see your hand up, but can't see you on screen.
Yeah, I'm here, Wyn, don't worry. Yeah, I'd also like to congratulate everybody on the report. It's something that we certainly need to be doing, especially following following the pandemic. I mean, we're still in the middle of the thing, aren't we? But so can I move the 2 recommendations in the report, and can I add another one that they report back to this committee on an annual basis?
Okay. Thanks, Brian.
And can I nominate Councillor Chris Hughes as being the member of this committee who will join this programme board, please?
Thank you, Brian. We have a seconder for those three recommendations from Brian.
I think Councillor James has seconded that. Was that right?
Thank you.
Yeah, I can second that. Thank you.
Diolch, James. Ag os oes 'na ddim cynnig
If
arall,
there are no other propositions, Dawn?
can you just explain briefly how we're going to do the vote?
Right, I'll need to call out everybody's name because we can't easily identify members of the committee. I'll just need to go through all the names to say whether you're for, against or abstaining. So it'll be alphabetical. So Councillor Phil Capper.
Sorry, Don, that's for all three of Brian's recommendations,
Yes,
proposals.
yeah.
Okay.
So Councillor Phil Capper.
Yeah, for.
Councillor Jeff Corrie.
For.
Councillor Brian Cossey.
For.
Councillor Andrew Hinchcliffe.
For.
Councillor Chris Hughes.
For.
Councillor Wyn Ellis Jones.
For.
Councillor Ivo Lloyd.
For.
Councillor James Lestard.
For.
Councillor Anne McCaffrey.
For.
Councillor Dave Rees.
For.
Councillor Austin Roberts.
For Blade.
Councillor Harry Saville.
Yeah, for.
Councillor Nigel Smith. Councillor Nigel. Oh, he seems to have lost Councillor Nigel. Councillor Joan. And Councillor Andrew Wood. Councillor Andrew, for, yeah, that was a thumbs up. Those three recommendations are carried, Chair.
Diolch, Dawn.
Thanks, Dawn. Can I just say what Phil said earlier? We thank for all the work the service has done to keep our people safe and all our staff as well. Thank you. So if we move on to the next item.
Dawn, I assume we need to agree that we're going to committee first of all before we end this part of the meeting and then log in again for the second part.
Yeah, that's
So,
right, Chair.
Can I have a guy?
Can someone propose that we go into the? Thank you. Everyone happy with that? Can you just show quickly with your hands? Thank you. We all need to log out now and log back in with the second link that Dawn has sent.